Hello? There's a lot more people than I was expecting there to be. Hello, guys. I'm so happy you're here. I'm also a lot more nervous than I thought I'd be as well. Hello, hello. Hi, guys. It's good nerves. I'm happy. My heart is pounding, but I am overjoyed. Hello, welcome to my stream. My very first stream. So, I'm Sharkbait. You can call me Sharky if you want. I don't really care. Whatever you guys are comfortable with is fine. I am really excited to be here today. I made this model, I should say right now, I made this model myself. So if there's like I can notice like there's some issues with the mouth tracking, I tried my best. If I get, like, I can probably like try to redo the model much later. But for now, I'm pretty happy with what I got. Lower the music. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. Let me lower that music real quick. Yeah, I've been having some technical difficulties with this streaming software, so I spent most of my testing time trying to fix the lag issues. So that's why I don't really like have the audio down quite yet. But I'm working on it. And if you guys like have any issues like with the volume, just let me know and I'll adjust it. That's gnarly. Love the black hole eyes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. So, I originally was gonna play a horror game for you guys, but because of the technical difficulties, gameplay is very laggy on stream. So I'm gonna try to get that fixed for other streams because I really want to play some games for you guys. But until then, I have some other stuff planned for today. I'm going to be reading some really old creepypastas. I have 2 picked out for today. 2 classics. First, I'm gonna read one that might not have aged quite well, but is still huge in terms of like when you think of creepypastas. I'm gonna be reading Jeff the Killer. I remember when I was a little kid, that used to be my absolute favorite. And I reread it like a few years ago, and it was I mean, I'm glad I read it when I was a kid so that I could gain that love for it, because if I read it now that I'm older, I don't know if I would have had the same appreciation for it, but definitely nostalgic. I wonder how old the person that wrote it was at the time, because if they're like young, could you imagine being young and then just writing a story, posting it online, and then it absolutely blows up? Could you imagine? That's crazy. And the second story I have for you guys is I haven't reread it. I've read it like years ago. It's The Russian Sleep Experiment. And it was like, I remember at the time it was really scary and I really enjoyed it. So I hope it still holds up to that standard, but I guess we will find out. Yes. And I hope you guys enjoy it too. Let's see. I have them pulled up over here. You never actually heard about it? Oh. Well, then I guess this will be a first for you. I hope it's still pretty good, so that it'll be a very good first read for you then. Is the volume of the music okay? Is it too loud? I want to know before, like, I start reading. I'm not entirely sure how long the delay between chat and me is. Sounds good? Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, the audio is fine. Maybe a bit less. Sounds good. Gonna get my doggo. Aww. I think it's good. Well, I'm gonna lower it just a tiny bit more for that other person. Just a smidgen, just a little. There we go. Nice. I want to get a dog. I currently do not have a dog, and I want to fix that. I could just like imagine having a dog with me on streams. Might help me calm my nerves. And it'll be nice to have a little companion at my feet. So, I'm gonna leave this part up to you. Do you guys want me to read Jeff the Killer first, or the Russian sleep experiment first? I'll leave it up to you. Chilling in the dark basement watching amazing stream. Best vibe. Heck yeah, it is. Little pup to brush up your leg and spooky. Yeah. Basically. Either is fine. Russian sleep experiment is one of my favorites. Probably Jeff. I wish I could turn off the lights for these stories. But if I did, then my model would probably mess up on me. It's the only downside to having a model, I suppose. And also, I'm not able to wear glasses. Otherwise, the eye tracking would be pretty bad. I need new glasses, actually. My eye's been twitching all day. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Either starring probably Jeff. Russian sleep experiment is one of my favorites. Alright. I think I'm gonna read Jeff the Killer first. Yes. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's actually a really good idea. I love things that build up. It adds to it, I think. I have like 2 screens. Let me switch the story over to my main screen so that I don't end up doing this and then jerking back to look over the chat. That would be very awkward. Can I manage you on your server later? I went through 2 different softwares for my model. Oh, yeah, sure. You can message me whenever you'd like. For whatever reason, I am very happy to talk about anything in particular. Especially about softwares and stuff like that. Stuff pertaining to this. I have a current hyperfixation on this stuff, so I'd be very invested in the current moment. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I like being fancy. And for some reason I only just recently got into pinstripes. I should probably put my phone on silent. Oh my gosh, what is that? Okay. Problem fixed. Oh! Oh my god, thank you so much! I wasn't expecting that so soon! Oh. Thank you so much. Wow. Oh, your name is supposed to pop up in that new tip box, and it's not. That's very weird. I don't know how to fix that. I should I'll do some research about it after this stream to see if I can get that fixed. Well, it's a little bit upsetting that not everything is working properly like I thought it would be. But thank you so much again. I appreciate it very much. Alright, what was I doing again? Oh yeah, I was switching the story over to my main screen. I got distracted, I'm sorry. Okay. My debut stream, my model was half transparent and blur. Oh my goodness, how does that even happen? Oh no. I hope you got that fixed. It's almost meant to be janky at the start. It makes all the more fun and wacky. That's a good way to look at things. Yeah, I like that. And plus, if things are a little janky in the beginning, that just means you have room to grow and that you can grow. And when you do, it would be pretty awesome to look back and to see just how much you've improved. When way in the future from now, I want to do a reaction video to this stream and to see how much I've improved. I think that would be really fun. And I hope that you guys will still be here when that happens. Okay, I have the story all pulled up and ready. If something goes wrong in a debut stream, you know they'll be a good streamer. What if everything goes wrong? Would that mean they'd be the best streamer ever? Oh. Okay, let's get started. Estimating ringing time is 23 minutes. Wow, this is a longer story than I thought. You guys better buckle up and get ready. Let's see. There's a picture. Oh yeah. I remember the picture that was used for Jeff the Killer. I heard that that girl that was used for the picture was I heard that she disappeared or something? I could be very wrong. Do not quote me on that. I could be really wrong. But I've heard bad things about this picture, and it makes me... I used to think it was really creepy when I was a kid, but now just looking at it makes me kind of sad for the girl. Oh. But let's not dwell on that for too long. We have a story to read. Let's do... I need to scroll down to find the actual story. There it is. Found it. Okay. This is an excerpt From a local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. I'm gonna pause a bit to thank Ethan. Thank you so much for your donation. I'm getting all like giddy. I had no idea I'd be getting donations this soon, so I didn't have time to mentally prepare myself. Thank you guys so much. Okay. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. I had a bad dream and I woke up in the middle of the night, says the boy. I saw that for some reason the window was open, and even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed, I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to go back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like something was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in the little ray of light, illuminating from my bed curtains, were a pair of 2 eyes. These weren't regular eyes, no. They were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth. A long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but said in a way only a madman could speak. He said, "Go to sleep." I let out a scream. That's when it sent him at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked. I punched. I rolled around, trying to knock him off of me. That's when my dad burst in. The man threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash, like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw a window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I will never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes, and that psychotic smile. They will never leave my head. Police are still on the lookout for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in this story, please contact your local police department. That was the first part of the story. It's more well written than I remembered from the second time I read it. I will give it that. Let's get back. Let me see what y'all have been saying. That old small dog image. That image was that was a scary image. That still creeps me out. I think I get like some sort of an uncanny valley feeling from that. But it's like I love an uncanny valley at the same time, so it's like a love-hate thing, you know? Continuing. They drove into the parking lot and ran. Okay, I'm sorry. That was like the wrong place. There's so much text. Hold on. Let me like scroll up so that only the new part is visible. That would help me a lot. Yes. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain though. A new, better house? What was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and introduce my son." She turns around and calls her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter and my 2 sons, Jeff and Lou." They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family were done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you hadn't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid." "Jeff," said his mother, "we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now we're going to that party, and that's final." Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there, looking at a ceiling, when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much a pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked downstairs to get breakfast and to get ready for school. As he sat there eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time, it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it. As he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hands. The kid seems to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. I probably mispronounced that, but you know how it goes. Well, it looks like we got some new meat. Suddenly, 2 other kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other was huge. "Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith." Jeff and Lou looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. "And he's Troy." They looked over to the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. How mean. Oh my goodness, I forgot how mean this was. "And I," said the first kid, "am Randy. Now for all the kids in this neighborhood, there's a small price for bus fare, if you catch my drift." Lou stood up, ready to punch the lights out of this kid's eyes, when his friends pulled a knife on him. "I'd hoped you would be more cooperative, but it seems we must do this the hard way." The kid walked up to Lou and took his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong. A burning sensation. He stood up, but Lou gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. "Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else." Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. 'Cause you know how 12-year-olds always carry around weapons, you know. The usual. "Oh, and what will you do?" Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid on the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. With his superhuman 13-year-old strength, of course. I'm feeling so much nostalgia right now, man. Oh my goodness. I used to love this story so much. Wonder how old it is. I should check after this story. Randy screamed and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed out at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach and Troy went down. As he fell, he puked all over. Lou could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. I will say, this part, it feels like something you'd read on Reddit's r/thathappened, especially from the end with Lou looking in amazement at Jeff. I feel like there would randomly be a crowd of people and everyone would start clapping. Yeah! Woohoo! Yeah! Sorry, I'll get back to the story. Jeff, how'd you... was all he said. They saw the bus coming and knew they'd be blamed for the whole thing, so they started running as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Lou made it to school, they didn't dare tell what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Lou just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was. Urge to just hurt someone. Ew. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school. Stories from August 2012. You think that that wasn't that long ago, but it actually, it's a pretty decent, yeah, it's like nearly 10 years ago, right? Yeah. That does not feel like it was 10 years ago. Oh my goodness. That's really amazing to think about. How something like this could last for so long. Because of the internet. And thank you for acknowledging my random interjections in the story. I hope it's not bothering you guys. Let's see. Even as he walked home, due to the whole thing near the bus stop, and how now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said, in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't regular fighting. They were stabbed. Stabbed, son!" Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones that pulled the knives on me and Lou." "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Lou had been attacked, but then there was no proof it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing because, truth be told, they were, so Jeff couldn't defend himself or Lou. "Son, call down your brother." Jeff couldn't do it since it was he who beat up the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up the kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me. The cop looked at his partner and they both nod. Well, kid, looks like a year in juvie. Wait, says Lou. They all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Lou. It was me. I beat up those little punks. I have the marks to prove it. He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises as if he was in a struggle. Son, just put the knife down, said the officer. Lou held up the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. No, Lou, it was me. I did it. Jeff had tears running down his face. Poor bro, trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away. The police led Lou out to the patrol car. Lou, tell them it was me. Tell them. I was the one who beat up those kids. Jeff's mother put her hands on his shoulders. Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Lou. You can stop. Jeff watched helplessly as the cop car speeds off with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway, seeing Jeff's face and knowing something was wrong. Son, what is it? Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. About an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Lou when it was his fault. He just wanted to sleep, trying to get the whole thing out of his mind. 2 days went by with no word from Lou at JDC. No friends to hang out with, nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff is woken up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face. Jeff, it's the day, she said as she opened up the curtains and let the light flood into his room. What's today? Asked Jeff as he stirs awake. Why, it's Billy's birthday party! He was now fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You seriously don't expect me to go to some kid's party after? There was a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past days. Now, get dressed. Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt, a pair of jeans, and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up, his mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought, why would they ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party? Son, is that all you're going to wear? Said Jeff's mom. Better than wearing too much, he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression, said his father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yelled downstairs. Just pick out something, called his mother. He looked around his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it though. He looked around and found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with his dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on. You're wearing that? They both said. His mother looked at her watch. Oh, no time to change. Let's just go, she said as she herded Jeff and his father at the door. They crossed the street and over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door and at it appeared Barbara, just like his parents, way overdressed. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults, no kids. The kids are out in the yard. Jeff, how about you go and meet some of them? Said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. You might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and hat. I feel like I got no fancy clothes and I got a unicorn poncho. I think I used to have not much fancy clothes, at least not that I wanted to wear. It's harder to find good fancy clothes when you're younger. And when you're older too, like, there's no in between. You either have almost all fancy clothes or nothing. That's what it feels like, at least. Hey, wanna play? The kid said. No, kid. I'm way too old for this stuff. The kid looked at him with that weird puppy dog face. Please, said the kid. Fine, said Jeff. He put on that hat and started to pretend to shoot at the kids. At first, he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he started to actually have fun. It might not have been super cool, but it was the first time he had done something that took his mind off Lou, so he played with the kids for a while, until he heard a noise. A weird rolling noise. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. How short is this fence? That's what I want to know. Oh my, I just like imagine this, like that, what those really tall picket fences, and then these three children just absolutely launch themselves over it. 3-foot privacy fence. Some privacy. Probably got that homeowners association that won't have it any other way. Like, what's the point of owning a house if these people are gonna tell you how to live in it, you know? That's how I feel about homeowners associations, but I'm sure somewhere out there there's a good homeowners association. Anyways, Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with burning hatred. Hello, Jeff, is it? He said. We have some unfinished business. Jeff saw his bruised nose. I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you, and you get my brother sent to JDC. Randy got an angry look in his eyes. Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today. I hear some. I hope I don't get in trouble with YouTube for saying small cuss words. That would be kind of sad if I did. Especially since I marked my channel as not for kids. But you know how YouTube is. Yeah. As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off of him and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming, parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets. Gun! Oh, I've almost forgot about this part. Guns! Where did these 12-year-olds get guns? Okay, like as I was reading this story, I'm thinking it's good so far. It's good so far. Why did I think it hadn't aged well? And now I remember why it hadn't aged well. These 12-year-olds are running around with straight up guns. Goodness gracious. Alright. No one interrupts, or guts will fly, they said. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabs his foot and twists it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back door, and Troy grabbed him. Something I'm wondering right now is if there's some, like, children I know, like, there's some gangs that consist of young children, but I wonder if they're actually this violent. That's what I wonder. Because this is, it's either accurate and I just have no idea what I'm talking about, or it's a bit dramatic. But, you know, stories kind of have to be dramatic in order to be entertaining, you know? So, I won't fault it too much on that. Let's see. Need some help? He picks Jeff up by the back of the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he is kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood. Come on, Jeff, fight me! He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head. Fight! He throws Jeff back into the living room. Come on, Jeff. Look at me. Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're just gonna sit here and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed. Jeff starts to get up. Oh, finally. You stand and fight. Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again, he gets that strange feeling. The one in which he hasn't felt for a while. Finally, he's up, says Randy as he runs at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him to the ground. I'm sorry. I'm getting some very interesting mental pictures from this story. It's finally happening, guys. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. Punch causes Randy's heart to stop. As Randy gasps for breath, Jeff hammers down on him, punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. Oh my goodness. I also almost forgot how violent this is. I know that it's a creepypasta, it's supposed to be violent, but I kind of forgot how this part plays out, because it's been a while. I wonder if you could actually die from being punched in the heart. I have a lot of things to look up after this stream. Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff, Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him, each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. I mean, people have died from less. You're right. With death, it feels like you can either die from the slightest tap on the head, or it'll take, like, being completely obliterated to finally kill over. There's no in between with that either. But it's really interesting. The human body is really interesting. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up behind. As they let out their final rounds of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. Didn't they? Oh yeah, their guns ran out of ammo. I forgot. Like a kid shouldn't be able to. You're right, yeah. The story hasn't aged that well in those aspects, but it's nostalgic, and anyone who's ever had a love for creepypasta, this story has a special place in their heart. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack into Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now all that's left is Keith. He is more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He dropped the knife and grabbed Jeff by the neck. He pushed him into the wall. A thing of bleach fell down on top of him from the top shelf. It burnt both of them, and they both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. I'm pretty sure your eyes would be obliterated if you poured bleach into them, but the bleach is kind of a big part of the story, so I guess I'll let that part pass too. What's so funny? Asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. What's funny? He said. Is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol. Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol and the vodka. While the alcohol burnt him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught on fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol had made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everybody started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, drop to the ground nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and the other parents trying to extinguish the flame. That's when he passed out. The parents! I forgot the parents even existed. These are some bad parents. Weirdly romanticized all this. It's really odd. The music is a little loud. Okay, yeah, I'll fix that. I can't turn it down much more though, just warning you. But the parents, they just see these two kids pull a gun on another kid, and as parents do, they do absolutely nothing. I wonder what would happen if this situation was real. I'm sure it would probably be over much quicker, and if this was realistic, then it would be a much shorter story. So that's something else I'll forgive, because it's kind of hard to manage all of these things in a story, especially if you're younger, and you just want to get from the beginning to the end, make sure everything's all fleshed out, and sometimes some middle parts can end up kind of wonky. But if this writer continued writing after this story, then I'm sure they've improved a lot, and I kind of wish I had a more recent story of theirs if they did continue writing, so I could compare, because I really like seeing developmental things, when they first start out and where they are now. That stuff is just super interesting to me, and it makes me really happy to see how much they've grown. Let's continue the story. When Jeff woke, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder, stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm. And when he tried to get up, it fell out, and a nurse rushed in. "I don't think you can get out of bed just yet," she said as she put him back in his bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother. "Honey, are you okay?" she asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered, and he was unable to speak. "Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed of trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go." And of course, they're just going to ignore the fact that Jeff killed, like, 3 kids. This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm. "He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again." Jeff's mother hugs Jeff and says her goodbyes. The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family members were all there to see it and what he would look like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover over his face was almost removed. "Let's hope for the best," said the doctor. He quickly pulls the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screams at the sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad stare in awe. What happened to my face?" Jeff said. He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of the distress. His face. It was horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red, and his face was turned into a pure white color. His hair singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hand to his face. It had sort of a leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family and back at the mirror. "Jeff," said Lou. "It's not that bad." "Not that bad," said Jeff. "It's perfect." His family was equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff? Are you okay?" "Okay." "I've never felt more happy." "Look at me. This face goes perfectly with me." He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, his sanity, snapped. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know. Breaking the fourth wall a little bit, aren't we, huh? Unveiling his face like it's in unboxing again. I love that. "Doctor," said Jeff's mom, "is my son all right? You know, In the head? Oh yes, this behavior is typical for patients that have taken a very large amount of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in the next few weeks, bring him back here and we'll give him a psychological test. Oh, thank you, doctor. Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go. Pretty sure painkillers isn't gonna make you murder everyone in sight. Just using that from personal experience, I know ibuprofen hasn't made me want to kill my whole family, but I guess everyone reacts to things differently now, don't they? Jeff looks away from the mirror. His face still formed into a crazy smile. Okay, Mommy. His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. This is what came in, said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and now stitched together. They should have thrown that— Wait! He was set on fire! His clothes would have been nothing. Okay, alright. I guess. It's some magical protective bleach. Some powerful stuff that you only get at, like, Target instead of Walmart. Then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke to a sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. Jeff, what are you doing? Asked his mother. Jeff looked over to his mother. I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever. Jeff's mother noticed his eyes, ringed in black. Jeff, your eyes! His eyes were seemingly never closing. I knew these weren't realistic, but I forgot how absolutely not realistic they are. It's comical. Yeah. A lot of the older creepypastas have kind of like lost that kind of punch to them. People start reading them. People used to read them for the fear, and now they read them for the entertainment because it didn't age quite well, but you know. We love it, don't we? I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could forever see myself. My new face. Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, seeing that her son was going insane. What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful? Yes, son. Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy so he could see your face. She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. Honey, get the gun, Get the gun? Oh my gosh. Just instead of like getting your kid help, you know, you immediately go to shoot them. You gotta put them down. Goodness gracious. She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway, holding a knife. Mommy, you lied. That's the last thing they hear as Jeff rushes them with the knife, gutting both of them. Goodness, oh my gosh. Oh. Just immediately went for it. Goodness. That was kind of an anticlimactic death for these poor people. But therapy is expensive. The parents are saving money. You're right, I guess. You gotta do what you gotta do. No eyelids means heavy infection potential. If he wasn't blind before, dude, he will be. Oh yeah, no. And if the infection doesn't get him, then just the fact that he can't blink will get him. I remember like, watching a YouTube video over like a timeline of what happened if you didn't blink. And it was pretty interesting. I don't know, like, I don't remember what exactly it was called, but I'm sure, like, you guys could find it if you, search something like like, the description of what I just said, like, timeline, without blinking, or something like that. I love those types of videos. I definitely recommend you check them out. Let's get back to the story. His brother Lou woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou. Lou thrashed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. Shh, Jeff said. Just go to sleep. And that's the end of that story. I kind of like the very last snippet, how it doesn't like end with Jeff, how it doesn't like say that Jeff killed his brother. Because if I remember correctly, there's like another creepypasta called Homicidal Lou, I think. And that ending kind of leaves it open for more. And besides, if that ending was like, if it ended off on him saying like, Jeff plunged the knife into his brother's chest, and it ended like that, it would kind of like have a different feeling, I guess. It would kind of feel a bit off in that aspect. But that was a trip. I enjoyed it though. There was a few cringy pieces here and there, and a few issues, but this was my childhood, and that was like, it just gives me those nostalgic feelings from the past, and it makes me really happy revisiting those feelings. I hope you guys enjoyed that story too, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my voice read you that story. This was my first time doing something like this, so I hope that was good for you guys. Jane the Killer was punished almost more than Jeff for a good while. Also bad. You know, I've never read Jane the Killer. I know of her, but I've never read her story. Maybe I can make this story readings into a little series if you guys would like that, and maybe I can read like all of the classics. Your voice is amazing, very relaxing. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I was like really worried about my voice for a long while. I was like scrambling to find some good audio softwares and stuff to make sure my voice sounded at its best. And I was like a bit nervous, and also I kind of got a mic on the cheaper scale, so I was a bit worried about the quality for that too. But you guys seem to be fine, and you guys seem to be happy, which means I'm happy. Yeah, you have great tone. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'm so glad you guys are like talking in the chat, because when I was like preparing to stream, I was like mentally preparing myself to have like long bits where nothing would be going on in the chat, because I was like, I wasn't expecting this many people to even join. And I wasn't expecting this many people to communicate either. I just thought like everyone would be lurkers or something. So this is everything about this debut so far has been an incredibly pleasant surprise. Like, I'm having a blast. I hope you guys are having a blast too, because this is really fun. And this just makes me even more excited for other streams too. And right now would be a good time to tell you guys that I plan on streaming every Tuesday and Thursday, same exact time as I started this stream. So I hope to see you all there. And of course, if some of you guys can't make it, I understand because life happens. But if you do make it, then awesome. I will be sure to help everyone have a great time and to do some fun stuff. Hopefully I can get OBS working properly so that I can play some games for you guys. And if I still can't fix it by Tuesday, then I can do a part 2 creepypasta readings. And I can like add Jane the Killer to that list. Next story I have for you guys today is the Russian sleep experiment. I'm super excited for this one. I really hope it's still at the standard that I remember it was. And I love this story so much. I really hope that it's as good as I remember it to be. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this story too. Kinda nervous for this one? Yeah, I think this one's a bit spookier than Jeff the Killer. Psychological body horror. Yeah. I love psychological horror so much. I love things that don't rely on like gotchas in order to scare you. I love things that build up. This one's gonna be fun. Looks like everyone's excited. I'm excited too. Let's get to it. Let me find, because like I'm on the Creepypasta website, so I have to scroll down a bit in order to find the story because there's overviews and information. 1 second. Okay, let's do this. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake, so the gas didn't kill them. Since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they only had microphones and 5-inch thick glass porthole-sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. Oh, these sentences are kind of long, so if I flub on a sentence, please forgive me. I suck at English, not because my first language is anything else. My first language is English, but I'm so bad at talking. So I'll get back to it. Just long, great but long sentences. The chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep on, but no bedding. Running water and toilet, enough dried food to last all 5 or over a month. Ooh, big text. No main basement room, but there's a hallway heading to a bathroom that's connected to the boiler room. Ooh, what are you guys talking about? I looked away for a second and I already missed so much from you guys. Look, I'm in a spooky basement with the door open to another room, and it's dark, so I'm spooked already. No main basement room, but there's a... Oh yeah, that sounds like a really scary environment. You're like in the perfect setting for stories like this. Let's see. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, having been promised, falsely, that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past. And the general tone of their conversations took on a darker aspect after the 4-day mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were, and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering to the microphone and one-way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades, the other subjects in captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself. I should have, got myself a water before this because my mouth's feeling kind of dry. But it's fine. We're on the last story. I think I can make it. I'll just have to remember that for next time. I mean, stuff like this did happen, but not this crazy. Yeah. There's been, a lot of dark experiments in the past. I find those dark experiments very intriguing, but very sad to the people who participated in them. I'd usually watch YouTube videos over dark experiments because they're really entertaining, but the kind of entertaining that you enjoy listening to, but that you hope never happens again in the future, because those experiments are messed up. Let's get back to the story. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were, and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. I just read this part. I am so bad at this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber repeatedly, yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight. He continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it, or rather, didn't react to it. They continued whispering to the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The 2 non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page with their own feces, and pasted them over the glass portholes. I forgot about that part too. That's gross. I feel bad for having read that, but I mean, I guess there's gotta be some way to obstruct the vision for the story to progress. I'm just gonna continue past that part. The screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering to the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were working. Since they thought it impossible that no sound could be coming with 5 people inside, the oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated all 5 must still be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. On the morning of the 14th day, researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the cactus. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the captives they were afraid were either dead or vegetables. They announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor, or you will be shot. Compliance will earn 1 of your immediate freedom." To their surprise, they heard a single phrase in a calm voice response. "We no longer want to be freed." Debate broke out amongst the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of the loved ones, to turn the gas back on. The chamber was open, and the soldiers sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could roughly call the state that any of them in. Oh, let me reread that sentence, I'm sorry. I messed that one up pretty bad. 4 of the 5 test subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call the state that any of them in life. The food rations past day 5 had not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subjects' thighs and chests stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth, as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination of the position and angles of the wounds indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. The abdominal organs below the ribcage of all 4 test subjects had been removed, while the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin and most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the ribcage. All blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had just been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects. Okay, wait. I have to cut in a little bit. This is really good so far, but I have already noticed like one slight issue. It said didn't it say previously that there was like 4 inches of water on the floor? So, and organs aren't that thick, especially when they're out of the body. How could they tell that the organs were sprawled out across the floor? How could the organs even be sprawled out across the floor? That's my interjection there. That's just something I've noticed. But so far, that's the only issue I've noticed, and that's pretty good considering the general quality of older creepypastas. So it's so far so good. So let's continue and see what else it has in store for us. I don't think there's much more left, but I could be remembering that wrong because it has been a while. So let's just continue. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. They continued to scream to be left in the chamber and alternately begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on, lest they fall asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out. Another was gravely injured. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube. Yeah, I'm not gonna read that little part. But let's just say one of the soldiers will no longer ever be able to have kids. Let's just say that. And an artery in his leg severed by one of the subject's teeth. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives if you count ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident. In the struggle, one of 4 living subjects had a spleen ruptured and he bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arm of one doctor. When Hart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after, he had bled out to the point there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in reach and just repeating the word more over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility. The 2 with intact vocal cords continuously begging for the gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had. In the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative that they had given him to prepare him for the surgery. He had fought furiously against his restraints when the anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under. He managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, even though the weight of a 200-pound soldier was holding that wrist as well. It took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped. In the autopsy of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had tripled the normal level of oxygen, and his muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn. He had broken 9 bones in his struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force of his own muscles had exerted on them. The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords destroyed, he was able... I think there's like a little typo in here. Hold on. His vocal cords destroyed. He was unable to beg or object to surgery. And he only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval. When the anesthetic gas was brought near him, he shook his head yes. When someone suggested, reluctantly, they tried the surgery without anesthetic. He did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover them with what remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should be medically possible for the patient to still be alive. I wonder if they meant to put here that it wasn't medically possible for the patient to still be alive. I think that makes like a little bit more sense with context clues. Yeah, that's scary stuff. Improperly restrained people get messed up a lot of the time, specifically when on hardcore drugs. Yeah. That's scary stuff. I think that's why this story is like as effective as it is, because it uses those things. And it like really gets to you, you know? And it's not going to get to everyone, but I think it can get to like a lot of people, or at least it used to get to a lot of people because it got to me. One terrified nurse assisting the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and pad fetched so the patient could write his message. It was simple. Keep cutting. The other 2 test subjects were given the same surgery, both without anesthetic as well. Although they had been injected with a paralytic, I think that's how you pronounce that. I am sorry. Although they had been injected with a paralytic for the duration of the operation, the surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients laughed continuously. Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the intending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves, why they had ripped out their own guts, and why they wanted to be given the gas again. The only response that was given was, "I must remain awake." People used good visuals and sounds back in the day, made it way scarier than it was, but at bare minimum, unnerving. Yeah. And, like, even just 10 years ago, stuff when it comes to horror was different. Horror and scary stuff, like, progresses. Things like, for example, what's a good example? Friday the 13th. Things like that was much scarier when it first came out than it is now, because we've had so many advancements that we're just like, we've become immune to stuff back then. And of course, some people might still find that those old horror movies scary, but I personally just like watching them because they have like this sort of nostalgic feel to them. And I think my favorite old horror movie series is Nightmare on Elm Street. I can binge that series with my mom in just like one weekend probably. That I love watching that so much. It's just there's so many movies, and I love every single one of them. One of the very few instances where I don't dislike future movies in a sequel, in a series, because sometimes movie series can tend to last way too long. Yeah, it's become way more visual with movements and insanely more auditory. Text doesn't do it as much. You're exactly right. It is so hard to portray all of that stuff through text, and the fact that this can kind of portray those things is pretty cool. I love scary stories when they're done right, because it's so hard to like make text scary, so that when it actually is scary, it's just so cool. Text-based horror boomed and then faded. Yeah, stuff like that just kind of, it had its moment and then it disappeared. Nightmare on Elm Street, the best. That and Saw. I love the Saw movies. I can watch those with my mom too. Those are so cool. Those are probably my favorite movies of all time. The Saw movies. If you guys haven't watched it and you don't get too queasy when it comes to gore, then I absolutely 100% recommend every single one of those movies. This little talk of mine has been lasting a while, so I'm gonna get back to the story for you guys. Thank you for listening. All 3 subjects' restraints were reinforced, and they were placed back into the chamber, awaiting determination as to what should be done with them. The researchers, facing the wrath of their military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of their project, consider euthanizing the surviving subjects. The commanding officer, a former KGB agent, instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. The researchers strongly objected but were overruled. In preparation for being sealed in the chamber again, the subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all three stopped struggling the moment it was let slip that they were going back on the gas. It was obvious that at this point, all three were putting up a great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bonds with all his might, first left, then right, then left again for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off the pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired for EEG, most of the researchers were monitoring his brainwaves in surprise. They were normal most of the time, but sometimes flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if he were repeatedly suffering from brain death before returning to normal. As they focused on paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor, only one nurse saw his eyes slip shut at the same moment his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of a deep sleep, and then flatlined for the last time as his heart simultaneously stopped. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now, his brainwaves showing the same flat lines as the one who had just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside as well as 3 researchers. One of the 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank in the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subject, still restrained to a bed as the remaining members of the medical research team fled the room. "I won't be locked in here with these things. Not with you," he screamed at the man strapped to the table. "What are you?" he demanded. "I must know." The subject smiled. "Have you forgotten so easily?" the subject asked. "We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis. Paralysis. I should know what that word means. I'm sorry. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go into the nocturnal heaven where we cannot tread." The researcher paused, then aimed at the subject's heart and fired. The EEG flatlined as the subject weakly choked out, "So nearly free." And that was that story. That was also a trip. I really enjoyed it. I feel like there was only that one part that I had like sort of issue with the water thing, but that's it, and that's just a minor thing, it feels like. So that's really good. Hello, can't watch the stream right now, but I'm dropping in real quick to say hi. Good luck and have fun to everyone. Thank you. Hello. I hope to see you later. Good luck with whatever you're up to. It holds up. It does hold up. I think it still holds up. Really good with accents. Yes. There was some, yeah, I think it's like, it's still up there with how I remember it. I really enjoyed that story. And most of all, I enjoyed reading it to you guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed that too. That was the last story, unfortunately, that I had for you guys. But if if OBS is still messing up, then I will have a part 2 on Tuesday at the same time. One moment. Yeah, this was really fun. This was I did not expect it would go this way. I had no idea. I'm really happy with how this turned out. You guys helped make this debut awesome. Thank you guys so much. This is really fun. I hope you guys had fun too. Very chill. I loved it. I'm so glad. That's really awesome to hear. I want to make sure you guys are having a good time too. This isn't just for me to have a good time. It's for me to entertain you guys. And I'm happy that I'm able to do that. And I'm happy I get to talk to you guys too. Because like I said before, I wasn't expecting to have an active chat right off the bat. So that's just, I'm just so happy. I'm just so giddy. I'm gonna be in an awesome mood for the entire rest of the week. I just know it. You're amazing. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome too. Well, I'm gonna end the stream here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had a blast. I hope you guys had a blast. If you want to see more content from me, subscribe. And if you want more updates, then just follow me on Twitter, because I usually post all of my updates on Twitter. And you can join my Discord if you want to become a part of my community. I also post updates on my Discord, and I have like special roles that I ping for different things. Like I know there's a role I have that will ping you when I start a stream. And all of these links for all of this stuff is in my description, including like the credits for the background music. The person that does the background music is awesome. They have like they have copyright free music on their YouTube channel that you could use for your monetized projects. And they're really generous for having that. And I really appreciate it. And just thank you guys so much again. I really hope, yeah, you guys seem to have had a good time. And that just makes me so happy. Well, thank you guys once more for joining me here on my debut stream. And I really hope I can see you all next week. The starting screen background music was so good. Yeah, if you like that music, then you should like follow the dude that makes this music. His stuff is linked in my description. He makes a whole bunch of like creepy background musics, and he even makes like some chill music too. His stuff is really good. Bye guys, thank you so much for joining me. Bye bye. I'll see you soon.